Nandini,
Yes, ma'am.
we will start.
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Sir, Ajit sir. Wait, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Shall we start, sir?
Very well, very well. I am okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Nandini, proceed.
Yes, ma'am. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. I'm Tata Sai Nandini, Chairperson of IEEE Engineering in Medicine and Biology Society of Sri Sairam Engineering College. I'd first like to welcome our chief guest, Mr. N. Ajit, Vice President in Marketing, HLL Life Care Limited, Chennai. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
I would also like to welcome our CEO, Sri Sai Prakash Leomuthu, Principal Dr. K. Purukumaran, our Dean Academics, Dr. J. Raja, IEEE Student Branch Counselor, Dr. S. Brinda, and IEEE Advisor, Dr. E. Priya ma'am. And last but not the least, I welcome all the attendees for today's webinar. Now, I would like to request Dr. S. Brinda ma'am to speak a few words.
Thank you, Nandini. Respected Mr. Ajit, Vice President Marketing, HLL Limited, Chennai. Respected CEO and Chairman, Sairam Institutions, Sri Sai Prakash Leomuthu. Respected Principal, Dr. Purkumaran. Respected Dean Academics and HOD ECE, Dr. Raja. My dear friend, Dr. Priya, advisor of this EMBA Society. And my dear students, IEEE student members from various departments. Good evening all. On behalf of Department of ECE and on behalf of IEEE Student Branch, as a Student Branch Counselor, I take immense pleasure in welcoming all for this wonderful evening webinar. Today we have chosen this topic, biomedical, trends in biomedical, because if you look at that topic, it's a very interesting one always, because we all connected with biomedical devices in each and every moment of our life, even starting from our birth to last minute of our life, as well as from morning to evening. In all walks of life, we all depend on the biomedical. So without biomedical, we can't do anything in our day-to-day activities. That's the truth. We all should accept that. And as ECE people, on the other allied circuit branches also, we are all we learn a lot of subjects related to biomedical only, like signals and system, biomedical instrumentation, DSP, digital image processing. Most of the subjects are closely associated with the biomedical field only. So that's why we can proudly say that we are also closely associated with biomedical field. And so to give more insights, we have one of the eminent personality from HLL Limited. So we can get many inputs from Mr. Ajit sir. I hope so. So hearty welcome to Sairam Engineering College, sir. Mr. Ajit sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Hearty welcome to our college and to address our students to give more insights on biomedical field. So with these few words, once again, I welcome all the student members, staff members, and the chief guest of the day today to this wonderful evening webinar session. Thank you all.
I request Dr. E. Priya ma'am to give the chief guest introduction.
Very good evening, dear participants, and I welcome our guest speaker, Mr. Ajit. Good evening, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
First of all, I thank our CEO, principal, and HOD for encouraging us to conduct various events under the banner of different IEEE society in our institution. I also thank Dr. Brinda for having chosen me as a faculty advisor for the EMB Society. Her tireless work has evolved in various societies in IEEE in both the institutions, including Sairam Engineering College as well as Institute of Technology. And this program is conducted under the banner of IEEE EMBS, that is Engineering and Medicine and Biology Society, which benefits both humanity and its members by promoting the profession of biomedical engineering. And as a faculty advisor for this society, I encourage you, dear students, to get access to different student clubs and chapters and to get benefit from distinguished such lecture program, and to participate in many competitions, student competitions, and because today's trainee are the future of biomedical engineering. So, okay, now it's time to hear from the speaker. Let me introduce the speaker. Mr. Ajit did BSc Honors in Physics and MBA Marketing. He was a senior sales executive in Consumer Appliances and Fans Division at Bajaj Electricals Limited, Cochin. He is currently Vice President Marketing in HLL Lifecare Limited, formerly the Hindustan Latex Limited. His key positions include regional, national sales manager, and business lead in consumer business, associate vice president in marketing and healthcare services. We are happy and privileged indeed to have you here. So we are the members of faculty and the student members of IEEE Engineering in Medicine and Biology Society join hands in welcoming you. And over to Mr. Ajit.
Thank you, ma'am. Shall we start? So, okay.
Yes, sir.
You can take over the session, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome.
Let me just put this on the. Is it visible to all of you, friends?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, good evening, friends. I hope everybody is on mute. So physically, we cannot see most of the people. Anyway. I'm just setting my laptop. Just give me a moment. Yeah, so here we go. Good evening, friends. I know it's taxing to be on a weekend, maybe for another hour, because I know Saturdays, most of the people might be trying to take a rest. And here, I am here with a webinar. I will try my level best to make it as interesting as possible, because this is one of the subjects which I also really like, but it's a huge ocean of informations. So gathering whole information and putting it in few slides has been really tough for me also. Though Priya ma'am told me to structure it in such a way that you will end up in 40 or 45 minutes. I will try my level best to do it. In this presentation, primarily, you should also understand the background. Number one, the GDP of the country, the GDP spends on healthcare was only 2% almost prior to Corona, the COVID coming in place in 2020. Post-Corona, the total GDP spends in the country has actually gone up by 5%. That means healthcare will be spent on GDP, 5% of GDP. That means there's a huge opportunity which is there for all of you, all the students who are actually in biomedical engineering or the connected streams, because I don't see biomedical as a standalone engineering department, but it's actually connected to many of the departments, be it electrical and electronics, be it IT, because today I'll be talking in a very I'll be just talking a gist only, but of course, if there is any doubts, you can definitely get back to me at any point of time. I am very well there in Chennai itself. So you have an opportunity. We ourselves, as a company, we are into a huge setup with Hind Labs, one of our lab structures in terms of pathological laboratories, that is a medical diagnostic laboratory, as well as a medical imaging laboratory. Now, I move to the slides. BME, I have just defined BME as a traditional engineering expertise to analyze and solve problems of medicine, thus improving the quality of human life. When we say this, you would have very well understood, finally, what are all we surviving for? We are always surviving for the betterment of the human society and the human life, extension of the human life. So biomedical is primarily equipment with when we talk about the instrumentation part, we talk about the equipment for diagnostics and the therapeutical equipments which are there in the hospitals or in the healthcare facilities, the biomaterials, biomechanics, genetic engineering, clinical engineering, medical imaging, rehabilitation, everything comes under this gamut of biomedical engineering. So it is not a very small branch, and each and every activity, it actually takes synergy with some other departments of engineering. You will actually come to observe about this. With the advent of cutting edge IT technology, the whole gamut or the whole landscape of biomedical engineering has totally changed. What I was doing in 2016, in 2021, it has undergone a sea change, which you will be actually seeing in some of the slides which I subsequently present to you. Coming to this presentation, since the biomedical engineering as a whole was a huge ocean of information and a huge ocean of segments, I have selected medical imaging as one of the today's topics, so that I can better make you understand, and you also could focus on this niche part. Also, many a times it is also quite interesting for every one of us, because most of you are interested in photography. You will have a camera on the on your mobiles. You try to take photos. So medical imaging is also something like that. You take pictures. You see the pictures. You analyze the pictures, and then finally you come out with the diagnosis part. So this is all about imaging. That is all about the pictures. Now, when it comes to medical imaging, it's not our simple camera what we use in our mobile phones. What we generally do, it was Ronjan, who has actually invented these X-rays, from whom it all started. This medical diagnosis actually started. So it was November 8, 1885. It is there on the slide. While experimenting with a Crux tube, they produced the cathode rays, and when the cathode rays was actually it was trying to focus. I had a video. Instantly I have a video, but I don't know whether I should be playing it to you because of lack of time. It's a 5 minutes video. If time permits, I will play to you probably at the end of this presentation. How we invented it, and how we found out that there was an image that was actually happening. Quite interesting in this. So this was about the first X-ray production. I will share it to you maybe after the presentation. I will just run through this. It's quite interesting actually. You should know about this, how this has actually happened. History of radiology. Now, when we actually look into how it has progressed over a period of from 1885 from the day X-rays were invented. So we have the X-rays invention, then we have the USG inventions, CT inventions. We have the cardiac catheterization. So whatever pertaining to radiology, I have tried to take it here. I mean to say, in this presentation, you will have 3 structures, or rather 4. The first one will be the X-rays which are currently used for the diagnosis part or for therapeutic part. Part 2 will be the radiation equipments, or the radiology, which is primarily utilized for oncology. The third will be cardiology, and the fourth part will be generally for the IT processes, because I will miss the whole gamut of the operations if I don't talk about IT, because IT has really delved very much into the whole systems, and thereby giving us the much better requirement, or rather what we are today, or tomorrow what we are ushering into. So that is what we are actually looking into this. So let me come to this. I will take you quite fast. Medical X-rays, which probably every one of you might have seen in any of the hospitals. It's an equipment which is the concept of this X-rays is ionizing radiation that passes through the body and having the images projected in a photosensitive place placed behind it. Everybody might be knowing about that. A film is there, the X-ray, and that is how you get an image out of it. But there are certain limitations for this. You have the body is a 3D structure, but finally, but what happens? You take an image of a 2D film only. When you take a 2D film, what exactly happens? There are superimposition of the other organ parts, and as a result of which, there are certain chances that the diagnosis might get missed out. So that might happen. But today the technology has actually changed from the analog X-rays. We are actually moving into CR systems. When I say CR systems, it is a computed radiography systems, where actually we use the photosensitive phosphorus actually as the films. So the imprint of the films are actually very fast, and it is also enabled. They also enable us to store it in EMRs, that is electronic medical records, as well as it also helps in transmitting this images. So that is how the CR system works. The DR system, that is a digital radiography. So these are the new inventions that has actually happened. Currently what we are currently using, but in spite of all these things, there are a lot of analog X-rays which are available in the market with the healthcare facilities. And one of the major issues today what we face in the healthcare sector is lack of radiologists. So what happens is that many of the hospitals, they may be having an X-ray, but there is nobody to read the X-ray. Ideally, a radiologist should be reading the X-rays, but there is nobody to read it. So CR system and DR system is today helping us to ensure that the X-rays are transmitted. It goes to a correct radiologist who actually reads it and finally comes back to us, and with a proper diagnosis, and thereby the medicines could be prescribed by the referring doctor. So that is what is happening today. The next invention which I say is USG, ultrasound sonography. You all might be aware about the sonar. You would have studied in physics, and today in engineering also you might be studying about this, primarily used in ships as well as in submarines to understand what is the distance between the enemy ships or the enemy submarines and all. It works, but subsequently it was understood that after the World War and other things, it was found that it could be utilized for the medical uses, and that is how the same technology, sound waves, the high frequency sound waves, have actually been utilized in ultrasound sonography. Here, what actually happens? There is a probe which goes into the which is actually connected to the body part. Wherever it has to scan, sound waves are emitted. It comes back as an echo back to the probe, from where the images are actually taken on the screens. From that image, the entire diagnosis of the body part or the body of the particular patient is done. That is how generally it is functioning. USG, one of the major aspect of the present USG is that it has a 3D capability, though now 4D capabilities are also being enabled. So the latest technology which is currently happening today, we have the 4D technology, USG with the 4D capabilities, and one more recent development which I wanted to tell you, in the US, they have an iPhone with a telesonography application which NASA has developed for a guidance program for the non-sonographers to perform the ultrasound sonography from the space. So very soon this will be adopted in the hospitals or in the health facilities also. This is also for the reason that there is no sonographers available. The availability of sonographers in the hospital is very rare. So how do you? And so what actually happens is that when there is a hospital, say for example in a rural parlance, where there is a hospital where there is an antenatal case, and the lady has to go for a scanning every 3 trimesters, she has to go for a scanning, and the doctor is not there. The patient has to be brought all the way to the district hospital or to a tertiary facility. So what happens is that it becomes quite difficult. It becomes very costly for the patient, because and as you know, in India, I say 70% of the people are from the poor patients. How do they survive if the patient has to be brought all the way? So this is one of the place where now telesonography is going to be one of the thing which is going to happen for the technology tomorrow. Rather in India, we have not yet started, because we have our own regulatory issues, the PNDT programs and other things, the PNDT regulations, because of which we are not able to adopt that. But this has actually started happening in the developed countries. This also I just wanted to inform you. Generally, this is used for the diagnosis of gallbladder, all these things. What you see on the screen, cardiac, fetus, and for everything. You see the equipment also, which I have put in the screen. This is one of the very sophisticated equipment, which recently Philips has actually launched. Philips as well as Siemens is there in the market with such a sophisticated equipment. One of the fantastic equipment, which I should say, and which can do anything and everything for in case of sonography. That is what it is. And the third equipment which I wanted to introduce is the computer tomography, wherein you can see this is one of the technology that has really brought in much changes in the healthcare landscape, or rather the diagnostic landscape. Now, when I introduce CT, how should I introduce to you? I should introduce you by telling that during the period of COVID, this was the equipment which was under the first line diagnostic for COVID patients. Why? This was the only, even there was a time when we were not able to have proper kits, that is a diagnostic kits to diagnose COVID, the DNA of the coral or the RNA of COVID, but it could be identified through a HRCT, a high resolution CT machine could identify the presence of COVID. So that is the beauty of this particular equipment. 1970 this was introduced, and you can see the concept of this technology is to take the series of images in slices. That means, and there was a time, I will come to the next slide. There was a time when it used to take around 2 hours for a patient to do a CT scan. But over a period of 45 years down the line today, taking a CT is hardly few seconds. That means what you have done in the CT is that you have reduced the exposure to the exposure of X-rays, as well as you have tried to reduce the time taken. That means you can scalability is more. When we say time less means scalability is more. So this is what the technology has now happened in CT. Apart from this, when I come to the there are some cutting edge IT technologies that has now come, because again when it comes to CT and MRI, the major issue was availability of the radiologists in the hospitals. Now, when you come to a smaller place or a smaller hospital, there is no radiologist. How do we actually diagnose the problem? Okay, there are somebody to invest on a CT machine for a value of about 2 crores, but you can put a radiographer there. The radiographer also can do a scanning, and he's ready with the scans. The images are ready, but who will actually do the diagnosis? So that was also another issue. So this is where the teleradiology platform and other things have come up. That also I'll talk in this particular presentation. You'll exactly come to know about that. This does a lot of diagnosis. Today, CT can perform anything. A 256 slice CT can do even the live imaging of a heart. When we actually talk about the body parts, in the body parts which are there inside, there is heart, there is pancreas, there is liver, which are constantly moving. They are constantly moving. There are involuntary muscles which are actually keeping it moving. Actually, your esophagus, your stomach, everything keeps on moving. So the moving parts. Now it has got multiple. With the advent of technology upgradation, you have 16 slice, you have 64 slice, you have 128 slice, you have 256 slice. A 256 slice and 128 slice with a fully loaded IT-enabled workstation can do anything. That's the beauty of this equipment. And we get the best of the best pictures, images of heart, pancreas, livers, and everything for a diagnostics to be completed and the radiologist to report to referring doctors. So this is what has happened in CT. One of the major cons, when I was actually thinking, when I was writing this particular presentation, I should also mention that there are a lot of pros and cons in this equipment. What are the cons? You are actually exposing the patient to a huge amount of X-rays, much higher than, almost 100 times higher than what you are exposing to the X-rays in an X-ray machine. That means there is always a danger working onto this. But what are the pros that is happening? So that means that tomorrow's situation or tomorrow's edition of the equipment that is actually going to happen in the market is definitely going to have a reduced dose, improved application, image quality, so that you need not go for every time the repeat activities. So this is what technology is now bringing in. But and also now there are new applications which have been found out, and they have started introducing for breast CT, orthopedic CT, everything. So there are new applications that are actually coming in the workstations. This is what I was just mentioning to you, a 256 slice CT. And about the remote scanning assistance. Another thing which is also coming up, though it is still not introduced in our country, but there are a few places which is already introduced, is the remote scanning assistance. That means even if a radiographer is not there and machine is ready, you can remotely scan it. You can remotely scan the patient. You can take the scanned images from the workstations. You can transfer it through a PACS to your cloud, and then you can report it. So all these things are happening in this technological arena. The future of the CT. Again, I'll be talking a little bit more on this, because today CT and MRI are one of the primary diagnostic devices which are used in the hospitals. So the advancement of any machine. So we have a lot of data. Now we are playing with data now. A lot of machines are installed. Daily around 20 to 25, 30 scans are happening. And when we see the equipments which are placed in multiple hospitals, multiple locations, what we actually find is that there are multiple images that are actually coming, and it is getting reported by the radiologist also over a period of maybe 1 hour or 2 hour span. What this helps us to do is there is a machine learning process that is actually happening through which they are developing an AI. Now already there are a lot of software companies based out of Chennai, based out of Bangalore. They have already come up with the AI in AI, which is actually doing a very good interpretation, which is actually helping the radiologists to cite the actual problems. So this is actually happening. Why? The reason is that the radiologists are totally loaded, because now the number of radiologists are very less in our country, whereas the number of scans are huge. So when scans are huge and the number of radiologists are very less, the radiologists can hardly spend a few minutes on a scan. So what actually it means? That means if you have a proven or a well-developed AI to help the radiologist to cite the problems, that means you are reducing his time span and you are helping him to scale the whole processes. That means with a less number of doctors, you can do more number of scans and report more number of scans. MRI, I'm not dwelling much on MRI because here the only difference is, as you know, magnetic resonance imaging. That means there is a magnetic field applied to this. There is absolutely nothing, and there is no radiation, absolutely zero X-ray. But let me tell you, MRI MRI is an equipment which gives images especially for the musculoskeletal parts of the body. This gives one of the best images. Even when the resolution of the images, what I can talk, is much better, and the result of the images and the diagnosis is also much better when it comes to MRI. So that's the reason why the doctor prefers, for example, a orthopedic case or a the skeletal cases, they generally refer to MRIs. They don't go for CTs. But as far as the image is concerned, both images almost look the same with the little bit of differences. And the reporting also happens in the same platform, the same PAG system with the same teleology, with the same radiologist reporting it back to us. So this is what exactly happens in this area. So almost we have talked about all these things. I just put it once again here. That CT mission in 1971, then you have 1977, you had the contrast. Now, when I talk about contrast, what is contrast? Contrast is nothing but it's a group of chemicals which actually, when it is injected into the body, which actually increases the resolution of the images. That is exactly what is happening. So these all inventions actually had at some point of time helped us in ensuring a better medical care actually, or better diagnosis. So this is what it is. So MRI is there, MRI contrast media, you have ultrasound contrast media, you have the dual source CT, you have the PET CT. Now PET CT, I'll be coming to that when I will taking the nuclear part, or rather the onco radiology. When I start, then I will take you through that. One of the another interesting inventions was about the mammogram, because mammogram, the earlier radiologists, when they were used to perform in X-rays, it was, the image was received very low in contrast, and the tissue walls, because it used to appear white, and as a result of which, the diagnosis was little difficult. But in 2000s, the digital mammography, when it was introduced, it is now a fantastic machine. Again, it's again based out of X-rays, but with a kind of software of the equipment, now it is able to project a better image quality. It is able to zoom, it is able to measure, and all these activities can happen. And the beauty of all this equipment, that is CT, mammograms, MRI, and what I talked about the the CR system and the DR system is, these are all transmittable images. It can be stored, it can be transmitted. So as a result of which, at any point of time in your electronic medical records, it can actually come in, it can be reported, it can be future referred, all the things can happen actually. Now, limitations, I thought I should put limitations also, because the kind of exposures that we are doing with X-rays, because when we talk about X-rays, we also should talk about that. As I mentioned, computer tomography, or the CT, it is almost 100 times of what we are actually exposing the patient. Next, I am coming to oncology. When I talk about oncology, let us understand that oncology, it's nothing but cancers, or the malignant cells. There are three stages in which actually what we see in the medical terms. The first part is the preliminary stage, then comes the secondary stage, and then comes finally the tertiary stage. So through this diagram, what I have tried to explain is that in the preliminary stage, generally what we do is that we generally take an image, then we do a clinical assessment, and then finally we move ahead. But the secondary phase is a phase wherein we have both the therapeutic as well as the diagnostic equipment used. When I say diagnostic equipment, we may use a CT, we may use a MRI, or we may use a ultrasound. And finally, when we have to manage the disease, we may actually go for a LINAC machines. We may actually go for maybe some other machines. And after using the LINAC machine, in spite of that, at the next level, at the tertiary level, we may actually have to go for the nuclear medicines and all. At that time, we use the PET CTs, we use the SPECT CTs, that is a single positron emitting CT machines. So all these equipments are used. So oncology also today, the backbone of oncology, if I say, is primarily the radiology equipments. So the radiation equipments which are actually available. I'm just leaving it out. Diagnosis, all the cancers, all these equipments, ultrasound scans, X-ray, CT, MRI, all these scans. Then what we call the biopsy, but again goes to the medical diagnostics, medical pathology actually. So I'm not focusing onto that. Fluoroscopy is also one of the mechanisms here actually used in terms of imaging, mammography. So these are the equipments which are used in the diagnosis of oncology. Now coming to the LINAC machines, that means this is a therapeutic machine. Actually used for the treatment part. It uses a technology called the external beam therapy. That means this is a method of delivering one beam or a multiple beam which is streamed into the patient's tumor. This is exactly what is actually happening. And this equipment is actually called a LINAC, that is called a linear accelerator, focuses on that. So there is always there is a chance of your good cells also burning out, or rather getting dead, and your of course your other the malignant cells are also killed, but there are chances that your other cells around also might get killed, might happen to that. Now actually generally what happens is that when we use such type of equipments, post using this equipment, now suppose for example the bone marrow, generally it attacks the bone marrow only. So the bone marrow, from the bone marrow, the malignant cells are removed, but along with that, sometimes the good stem cells also actually get erased out, eroded. So when those gets eroded, then we have to give a stem cell treatment also actually. So there are a lot of interconnected activities. I will not dwell much into this. So primarily, this external beam therapy is actually used for breast cancer, colorectal cancer, neck cancer, lung cancer, prostate, brain tumor, everything actually this LINAC is actually used. If I remember correctly, this actually uses the cobalt. Means there are other isotopes which are actually being used. I'm not very sure about this because currently I have only once seen this equipment which has been used in LIMHANS, Bangalore. Otherwise, I have not seen this linear accelerator really performing. Therapeutics and oncology, we have the chemotherapy, the radiotherapy, and as I told, the nuclear medicine. Here, I just would like to tell you a small thing about this nuclear medicine. What exactly nuclear medicine, or what does PET CT and all do? There are radiation. When we talk about radiology equipments, these radiology equipment emit X-rays. But when it comes to nuclear medicine, the patient is actually injected with a radioisotope medicine, which actually goes and it assimilates into the body part which is cancerous, and it starts emitting the rays. And that is how the PET CT and the SPECT CT actually works. That means that image which is actually thrown out from these radioisotopes is actually taken and the imaging is done. So there is a difference between the SPECT CT and the SPECT CT, PET CT, that is a positron emission therapy, tomography, single proton emission computed tomography, and like what you say, the gamma cameras and other things. So they all work on a principle of the patient getting injected with radioisotopes. That is how it is functioning. This is how the equipments look like. The SPECT, that is the single proton emission computed tomography, and the PET CT is the positron emission computed tomography. So this is how the equipment looks like. Now I'm moving to the cardio part. In cardio, now we are not using a very high amount of X-rays, or the patient is not subjected to a high amount of X-rays. But in cardio management, where Cathlab is actually used, it is generally the fluoroscopy method actually what we are actually using, the fluoroscopy. And what is fluoroscopy? It is actually the medical imaging that shows a continuous X-ray image on a monitor like a movie. It's like a movie only. it is used. This is used for the catheter placement and involves 90% of the total operation time. So for the entire process of angioplasty or angiogram, this X-ray, a low intensity X-ray is passed through the body. That is exactly what is happening. So that is the reason why cardio also part, though cardio in any of the health medical colleges or any of the tertiary or the quaternary hospitals, if you go, you don't find it as a in the radiology part, but it is actually there in the cardiology. But I have classified it because here also there is a low intensity X-ray that is actually going inside. So that is the reason why I thought it should be, it is apt to actually tell you that this is also a part of the equipment which is into radiation. That is what I wanted to tell you. I'm not coming to the second part because the second is actually out of stream now. Now it's only fluoroscopy method which is actually currently being in vogue. Technology advancement. Now again, it is a state-of-art machine which all 3D images, and the way the images are constructed, and the doctors, and with the contrast, the doctors are able to maneuver inside the heart, the arteries inside the body is something, something this equipment has really changed the entire landscape in the cardio management. So wherever if you go, any of the hospital, they will be boasting by telling that, I have a cath lab available here. I do so much procedures. I have an intensivist. I have a cardiologist. Everybody is there. So this is how the today's environment works. And today, with the kind of lifestyle changes that we have having, we don't the people the eating habits, as well as the workouts and other things not being there, it has become a really a tough time. And as a result of which, this cath lab has got a flourishing time in many of the hospitals. There are hospitals which does around 32 cath lab surgeries in a day, angioplasties in a day also. Because I had been to a state in one of the hospitals where they said that at least 20 to 25 surgeries are happening in a day. It's quite amazing actually. So that is where it happens. Secondly, cath labs, there are cath labs also used for the neurosurgery part also, because when there are cases in which the same technique, the catheter technique, is actually used for the brains also. So that is how the cath lab currently functions. What do you look at the cath lab in the future? Because when I was trying to make this presentation ideally what I find is that a virtual reality, it is going to create a virtual reality, and there can be doctors remotely controlling the patients. That means even if the intensivist is actually not available at the particular place, it can be remotely monitored from the doctors from other places. This is how the tomorrow surgery, probably an angioplasty or surgery, might happen tomorrow. We don't know, but it might happen, because the dearth of the doctors and dearth of the people to perform, because these are all the doctors who are performing are MBBS, MD, and then they do DM also. It is a doctorate of medicine, and doctorate of medicine, the numbers are so low that we may hardly get anybody to do these exercises. So these are some of the things which tomorrow we can anticipate from the cath lab, and it is all about technology changes that is happening in these instruments. Finally, I'm just talking only about these equipments because I don't want to take up there's a multitude of equipments which are available in the hospitals, right from a small thermometer to you can take any type of equipments. You think there is a blood pressure monitor, you have everything and anything. But I have just focused on few of the equipments that is into imaging part only. So now, what is the challenge today is that today all these reports, that means the medical history of a patient, the liquid biomarkers. When I say biomarkers, it is nothing but it is a tendency to get into a certain diseases. The biomarkers, the medical images, the genomic analysis, everything need to come to a culminate into a common platform. That is where the data has to be now captured. So that means now I'm slowly moving into the IT part. How this IT and the IT enabled services has really, or it will be really changing the total landscape in patient management. That is what I wanted to come to that. Coming to this challenges in radiology. In what does radiology? The major problem is image acquisition because of multitudes of equipments available here and there. It's a fragmented ecosystem with multiple equipments, multiple type of softwares. So the images coming from different equipments might be different, little different. So the quality variance, because now if it is a contrast one, somewhere the radiographer or the nurse might have given a less dose of contrast, somewhere it might have given a more dose of the contrast, somewhere the dosage of the X-rays might have gone high or little low. But nowadays equipments have also come where it is auto monitored. That means the moment you place yourself on the table of the CT or the MRI, it identifies what is your body weight. According to that, the dosage is also set. So these are the type of technology which is available today. So image acquisition, the image reading part, that means because of the growing medical complexity and high workload of the doctors, reading is actually not the reading by the radiologist is not happening in a proper manner, or the time they have to spend on each slice of the images is very high. As a result of which, it takes quite time. So scalability is very low. What is the solution for this? Now, how does this technology happen? So now this technology, what now I'm talking about, is purely not the equipment technology. This is a communication technology. Now, how does this happen? So we have a PAC system. How does the image get transferred? So here I just wanted to read it out. The picture archiving and communication system is an environment that facilitates the multimodal medical images, all the medical images which is emanating out of the central databases is communicated through a browser-based format. Today we are using the DICOM server and all, and easily accessible within the entire hospitals and from the multiple locations. So this is what we are currently doing. So PACS is one of the things what we are using, though it is very difficult to remove the PACS. But today there are many companies in Silicon Valley, as well as we had recently had a lot of presentations and lot of discussions with many of the industry giants like GE and other companies. And there are also a lot of startups in the Silicon Valley who has actually come out with alternate technologies. I will actually come to this because I just wanted to briefly explain where this PACS and how does it work, and what are the new technologies that actually we can expect for tomorrow. We can actually anticipate on that. So here, more or less, I just wanted to take it a little speed. That's why. So DICOM is a digital imaging and communication on medicine. This is another is the browser-based formats on which all the images are actually transmitted. Finally, where it goes, it actually goes on a teleradiology platform. So what actually happens? We actually call it as a risk packs. The risk packs, which is actually available at the centers where the CT modality is available, or the MRI modality is available, or any modality. To that extent, any radiology modality is available. These images are archived or zipped in a zip format, and then this particular thing with a pusher, we are actually sending it to the cloud or another server, whatever we have. From there, it is accessed by the doctor. So this is an ecosystem. This is the ecosystem which I wanted to show you. The doctor accesses in his workstation with his software. There is the software what he has got. He downloads it. So what actually happens here, if you see, there is an internet required, high bandwidth internet required for uploading the images, and a high bandwidth internet required for downloading the images also. So there are chances that you may miss something. The doctors might have missed out something. So a lot of issues might have arisen. But today, as of today, Telerad is the only mechanism through which we are able to report all the scans that is actually happening in the modalities. That is exact that you should know about that. So teleradiology, this is what how the system works. I just wanted to put it across to you. But now, where are we moving to? This is what we should understand. Now, you might be seeing your movies and all in your mobile phones, which is actually like Amazon Prime. You might be seeing a lot of things actually, and sometimes the live streaming of the movies actually happens. So now, exactly the same way, the system is now moving that the doctors need not download the images. Whatever images has been uploaded into the cloud server can be directly streamed onto his workstations. So that is how the technology is now changing now. So now a lot of companies, or slowly in the Silicon Valley, a lot of startups, a lot of companies have actually come up, and we have started discussion with these companies to find out what is the best way to do it. The whole issue now, when it comes to commercial terms, price matters. That means what is that I'm going to offer? Because end of the day, people like you, me, and all are going to pay for this. Now, if you feel that if somebody feels that a PAC system is costly, if or the cloud infrastructure, this particular format is a costlier one, nobody will accept this. That means any technology you bring in, the technology has to be in such a way that it is economical to the people and it actually works on favor of the what should I say, should be favorable for the pockets for the people, because end of the day, who is there? The end user is there, the payer is there. Me, you all are the payers for this. So that is where the technology has to be cultivated in such a way that the prices are much lower. So now the situation is that nobody knows about this. That's why packs may not go out very soon, but definitely this is going to be the tomorrow's technology, wherein the streaming of the images. Now, what are the advantages of streaming of the images? The images, as and when you have scanned it, how does it look like? The same images will come to you on the workstation of the doctor. That means doctors, no latency. That is where if you see the bottom of the slide, I have written bandwidth issues are today there. This is managed. Latency of the image, that is managed. Scalability, that means the more faster you do it, more you can perform it. Another thing which I have included in the fourth point is cloud storage, but are now fabricated for medical use. This cloud storage, for example, you go to Amazon, the Amazon cloud storage and all, they are actually not fabricated for the medical use. Now, for storing images now there are new things actually coming in, the graphic processing units and all for storage. So there are separate. They have started now building these graphic processing units which can actually process these images, and which is also in turn helpful in running the AIs. So artificial. So this is where now the changes are actually happening. So you should understand how the technology is slowly changing, and tomorrow maybe another 1 year down the line, we can see that totally change in how the images are managed and images are getting reported. So this is what I just wanted to highlight from here. Now, these are all just a comparison with a conventional packs and a cloud technology. Maybe this slide may not be too visible to all of you, but just I simply wanted to tell the first one, that is a conventional packs. You have to download the data before viewing. So it is very slow and transmitting the raw scans to the end users. But in this case, actually what happens, the streaming is there. The instantaneous and interactive streaming happens, because of which it becomes much more faster and the reports are much better. The quality of the images are much better. Now, what I was actually mentioning, the GPUs, the graphic processing unit and all. So that means now you can run AIs in that. And when you run AIs, it becomes much more faster. You need to add the doctors or the radiologists who are actually working on this, they are aided by the AIs. So that means today we are having a lot of data to work with, and as a result of which it has become much more simpler. In our at any point of time, I think we have closed that now. We were actually running a project for National Institute of Tuberculosis, NIRT. NIRT is there in Tambaram. I hope many of you might be knowing, because your college is also from Tambaram. We were doing an exercise. There was a 6 lakh people from across the country. They were actually screening by way of mobile X-ray units. This all used to be with our packs. It used to be taken to the cloud. That was again our cloud, where it was downloaded, and we used to report it from our Chennai office. That is what we used to do. And we had a small AI running, but though it is not a full-fledged one. But definitely, it was aiding the doctors to immediately cite out the tuberculosis, the virus or the cases where the tuberculosis is available. While seeing the images, X-ray images that we had in Chennai. The project actually, just because of COVID, we had to pre-close the project early. Otherwise, I could have shown you at any point of time. You would have come to our office. I would have shown you how this actually works. It's a very interesting thing. We had around 6 lakh images with us, which we have processed. Now, since it has got closed, we have handed over the entire thing to NIRT, and I don't know whether something is available in our office right now. Our radiographers and our operation team from the radiology, they are there. I have to check it out from them. So this is where the interpretation of AI. So that means the whole triage is getting impacted by AI. This is going to be tomorrow. because of the huge data, the big data that is actually coming up from this medical diagnosis, this is actually going to happen. So you will see maybe in a year or down the line, the radiologist will be assisted by somebody like a chatbot coming and telling that this is what is actually happening. So this is where you need to focus. This is the issue here. So ultimately, ML and AI is going to be the tomorrow's technology for radio diagnosis. Quite interesting. Software industry now. When I put this slide, I just wanted to mention you that how do we today the entire technology, or rather the entire HMIS, or the hospital management information system, or the radiology information system, or what we say the HIS, they tell in multiple acronyms, they say that. But today the whole system is working to find out how a single comprehensive cloud for the entire medical imaging, radiology, telehealth, tele-ICU, tele-emergency, tele-rad, AI, everything could be run in a common platform. That is how they are trying to build it now. We already have started talks with many companies, because now, in fact, hospitals like Apollo, who handle around 12,500 to 13,000 beds, everybody has started, or they want to understand how this could be integrated together. So, because we cannot work in silos anymore, we have to have integrated approach, so that the resource optimization, everything could actually happen together, so that you bring down the cost. That is exactly what. So, end of the day, commercializing anything, you have a technology with you, but if you have to commercialize that, you have to bring down the cost. So that is what all are working on. So this is the technology for tomorrow. Future of medical imaging, as I mentioned, AI supported medical reading, fast and robust medical image acquisition, data transfer via high speed cloud, auto detection of abnormalities, that is what I was telling about the AI, and the malignancy by diagnostic machines, talk to machines who takes commands and run scans, all the patient details such as medical history, diagnosis, treatment methodology, and one platform which are readily available to the patient. So this is where the technology is slowly moving into. With this, I am just closing today's seminar. It was just a time of around 45 minutes given. I don't know how much I have consumed. I think I am sharp on time. My email ID is mentioned here, ajit@lifecarehll.com. At any point of time, anybody has any doubt, you are free to send an email to us. We are readily, if I am not responding, I will ensure that somebody else is responding to your queries. I hope you enjoyed. I'm really thankful to Priya ma'am and the management of Sairam College of Engineering for giving me this opportunity. Though it was a short notice for me, I just came yesterday. I had almost 3 to 4 hours to prepare the whole thing. Of course, it has been supported by my biomedical team and my IT team together to come out with this presentation. It was a large presentation. It was over 100 slides. I had 100 slides. I had to squeeze it up to 30-35 slides to present it to you in a span of 45 minutes. Thanks a lot. And once again, wish you all the best. It's a very interesting field. At some point of time, I can talk little more about this biomedical engineering, about some other equipments, because today I have taken only medical imaging. We can talk something else also. Thanks a lot. Wish you all the best. Ma'am, it's your call now.
Thank you for such an informative session, sir. We certainly learned a lot about medical imaging, and you have motivated all of us to explore this field deeper. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
If anyone has any queries, you can unmute yourself or post it in the chat box.
Thank you, Ajit sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, you started from the history, like the inventor of the biomedical, and then you showed us what are the different modalities of imaging, biomedical imaging. And at last, like you touched about the future part of it also, like the telemedicine and the biotelemetry part of this biomedical engineering. Thanks a lot. Thanks for spending time for us, and you made a wonderful presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Can I leave?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Can you post the feedback link in the chat?
Yes, ma'am, I'll do it now.
Ma'am, I request our attendees to stay back. We have a small quiz session and the exciting prizes also waiting.
Yeah. So participants, don't leave the session. There is an amazing event at the end. So there is a quiz and you'll be awarded with cash prize.
The feedback form is in the chat box. You can all fill that. All the participants will have the quiz in Kahoot. I hope everyone is familiar with the platform. So before that, I request everyone to fill the feedback form. I request all the participants to join as soon as possible. All of you join. We'll start in a few minutes.
Dear students, join the quiz, ma. Join Kahoot to attend the quiz.
JTX, please come with your real name. I'm removing you now. We'll start by 7:50, guys. Okay, we'll start the game now. Melvin is still in the read. This is the last question, guys. Congratulations, Sweta S, Melvin, and CN Savitri. I request you all to post your GPay number in the chat box.
I think C and Savitri, our staff.
Oh,
Savitri madam, this is too much. Melvin, congrats.
Just thought of taking the quiz, ma'am. Questions were very interesting. That's why,
Very
ma'am.
interesting, yes. Our students are always brilliant. Okay. Melvin, congrats.
Thank you, Aunty.
Sweta, yes.
Congratulations to the winners.
Sweta, congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sweta, congratulations. Savitri, congratulations. And Melvin, congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anyway, Priya madam. Savitri also our student only.
Yes,
Biomedical
yes.
PA, research scholar.
Research scholar.
Under that category, Savitri also student only.
Yeah, yes. So she can also post her GPay number.
Thank you, ma'am.
Super, super. Very nice. Very interesting questions. Adi?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Stop live stream.